Judicial, a fitting description for a man who has spent almost a half a century in and around this building. First as a law student, then as a lawyer, and finally as a judge. It was back in the early 30s when Sam Freedman developed what he calls a deep reverence for the judiciary. But it took him 20 years to crack the Gentile stranglehold on the bench. In 1952, he became the first Jewish lawyer to be appointed to the Manitoba Court of Queen's Bench. He remembers the day when the Minister of Justice offered him the job.
I accepted without hesitation, and then I had to phone my wife and my parents. The duty to the wife is paramount over the duty to the parents. Millisham versus Millisham. I phoned my wife, and then I phoned my parents. My mother answered the telephone. I said, "Mother, great news." She said, "What?" I said, "Guess." She said, "Max is married." Mothers have a way of pointing up the essential things and putting everything into proper perspective.
In 1960, Freedman moved up to the Court of Appeal. In 1971, he became the Chief Justice. During his 30 years on the bench, he has had to deal with some difficult issues, difficult both legally and emotionally. His was the first court to rule on the fight between the provinces and the federal government over the Constitution. He had to deal with the issue of obscenity and pornography, with George Foray's parking ticket. But the case that caused him the most anguish was when he had to pronounce sentence on 3 teenagers who murdered a priest.
The newspaper the next day said that Mr. Justice Freedman, in imposing the death penalty sentences, appeared to be pale and tense.
Is that true?
It is absolutely true. I accept the paleness as the observation of others, but the tenseness, of course, it was a tough moment to sentence a fellow human being to be taken from your place of consignment and taken to and brought to the place of execution, and then and there be hanged by the neck until you are dead.
Sentencing the boys to hang was made even more difficult by the fact that Freedman abhors the death penalty. He recommended mercy, and the federal cabinet commuted the sentences.
A CBC color presentation.
In 1970, Freedman found himself involved in a political controversy. The federal government had invoked the War Measures Act to deal with the crisis caused by the FLQ kidnappings of Quebec Labour Minister Pierre Laporte and British Trade Commissioner James Cross. The day after Laporte's body was found, Freedman took part in a nationally televised debate. Unlike the other members of the panel, he supported the War Measures Act.
No one but a fool would deny that it carries within itself seeds of danger. Any lover of civil liberties will recognize that this is an extreme measure. Its justification is that it was necessary.
His concern about misuse of power was well-founded. Hundreds of innocent people were thrown into jail and never charged. However, he still believes the government had no choice.
Do judges go through periods of self-doubt and examining themselves? Do they go through sort of various stages?
John, there's an old saying that every judge in the course of his judicial career goes through 3 stages. During the first 5 years on the bench, he delivers every judgment with a lurking suspicion in the back of his mind that he is wrong. During the next 5 years, he delivers every judgment absolutely convinced that he is right. Thereafter, he delivers his judgments with a growing indifference as to whether he is right or wrong. And they say that when the indifference becomes habitual, he should retire. Well, there's a bit of tongue-in-cheek in that, and it's a bad generalization, but yet contains a kernel of truth.
Indifferent is a word that will never be used to describe Chief Justice Samuel Freedman. neither indifference on his part nor indifference to him by others.
I'm deeply touched by many things. First, by the fact that you even thought of a staff send-off for me as I approach the end of my tour of duty.
This reception by courthouse staff was just one of many tributes paid to him in the weeks leading up to his retirement. This is the kind of ovation normally reserved for athletes or movie stars. But to these people, lawyers, judges, court officials, Sam Freedman is a star. That's why over 1,000 of them turned out last weekend to honor him. This was Sam's last public outing as Chief Justice. In the weeks ahead, he'll take up a new career with a Winnipeg law firm working with young lawyers. There may be a book of memoirs in the offing, and for sure, he'll be out on the golf course.
How is your golf game? How's it doing now, B?
I have to answer truthfully. I love the game, but I'm no good at it.
Come.
I'm well over 100. Once I got 99, we were almost prepared to shoot off rockets at Glendale Country Club. But I've been in the 110 range. I must tell you this. I was golfing at Clear Lake once with a lady just after I went on the bench. And she reminded me, 20-odd years later, of something I had said then. I didn't remember saying it until she reminded me. And what it was this. I said, I hope the day comes sometime when people will say, Sam Freedman was the son of a bitch of a judge, but could he hit a golf ball?
Chief Justice Freedman's office was almost barren this morning. Evidence of his 30 years as a judge all but gone.
Well, Mr. Chief Justice, the day has come. You're putting the robes on for the last time, and this is your last day in court. How do you feel?
John, I'd be kidding myself if I didn't admit to an element of sadness about this. But I look back over the years, I have a host of memories, and they are pleasant memories.
Order! There was a touch of sadness in the air this morning as the Chief Justice entered the Court of Appeal for the last time. Sam would like us to believe that today was just like any other day. Another case to be heard, another judgment to give. But today's case was his last case. Today's judgment, his last judgment.
I will miss this place and I will miss my colleagues, but the time must come, and all I can say is it's for others to assess my performance. I have done my best.
A personal footnote. When we began filming our story several weeks ago, I had a warning for members of our crew who had not yet had the good fortune of meeting Chief Justice Freedman. Discard all preconceived notions about our illustrious judge, I said. He's not a stuffed shirt. A star, yes, but also a very special human being. A couple of hours with the man and you're hooked for life. Well, after last Saturday's tribute dinner, the entire crew got the Chief Justice to autograph their programs. They were hooked. As for me, I still remember what happened at Clear Lake about 20 years ago. I was, of course, a young reporter at the time. I was at the lake on holiday. Sam Freedman was there, too. By chance, we meet on a street. Freedman, already a legend, stops to say hello, and we chat for a moment. Just think, a great man stops to talk to a nobody. Can you imagine how I felt? I had goosebumps all over. In fact, I still get goosebumps every time I see this man. He's a hell of a guy. We offer our thanks, and we wish him well.